Hi, I'm Brian Zelmer, Director of KU Presents at Kutztown University. During the 2018-2019 season, KU Presents is celebrating its 30th anniversary of bringing professional touring artists to the community. In this mini-series, we'll take a journey in time to explore the many behind-the-scenes stories of our first 30 years. We'll learn why the Performing Artists Series started and how it continues to fulfill its mission of presenting world-class performers at Kutztown University. We'll reminisce about some of our favorite shows, and we'll talk about some of those unexpected moments that sometimes come with the territory of presenting live performances. You'll hear all of these stories as they are told by university administration, former KU Presents directors, staff, and many longtime subscribers, as they each share the special impact that this program has had on them. Join me, won't you, as we celebrate 30 years of KU Presents. Our story begins here at Kutztown University.
In the 1930s, this was called the Kutztown State Teachers College. It was serving the Tri-County area of Berks and Lehigh and Schuylkill, and primarily training teachers for rural education. The community of Kutztown at that point in time was very much like most American communities in terms of their music choices and the interest that they would have in performance and theater and things like that. On one level, you of course have a folk culture in this area that would have valued the folk music of the Pennsylvania Dutch, but at the same time, they were Americans. These were people who were of course consuming the same types of music that were broadly available by radio all across the United States, and as well the same kinds of theater as well. Here in the Kutztown State Teachers College, which is what it was called at that point in time, there was also a robust performance aspect as well. Students were encouraged to develop an affinity for vocal music or piano or organs. The interesting thing about this is the fact that many of these people were educators or were going to become educators, and having a proficiency in those things would also be helpful in the classroom. So Schaefer was constructed in 1938 and was named in honor of one of the most celebrated educators in the state, whose name was Nathan C. Schaefer. And Dr. Schaefer was not only a well-respected educator and orator, he was also somewhat of a cultural figure for the people here in this area. He was a quintessential Pennsylvania Dutch person. He spoke both Pennsylvania Dutch, he spoke English, he spoke Standard German, and he also specialized in ancient languages, especially Latin and Greek, which he spoke fluently. He also contributed tremendously to the development of the literary societies that were so popular here at the Keystone State Normal School. And the idea was that these were performance-based. Folks would provide orations or act out certain parts of classical theater or do vocal numbers. And this is also kind of a forerunner to the emphasis that was placed on performance within the institution. Under his supervision as well, the first Boys Glee Club was established, which would have been something somewhat cutting edge. And he also established a mixed chorus. Now, the reason I emphasize mixed is because up until that point in time, boys and girls instruction was almost entirely separate. Their living quarters were definitely separate, but this was something that allowed both the male and female students here at the Keystone State Normal School to be able to actually mix in some of their activities. So that was somewhat cutting edge for its time as well.
There were very few concerts, very few activities. Most of them were faculty or student events, and once a year they would have some kind of outside performance, it seemed. At that point, you know, the university was kind of a rural, isolated community. In the early 80s here, the enrollment was probably 4,800 students. There was very little off-campus activities, and the campus was much smaller than it is today.
When I arrived on the campus in the fall of 1986, there were a few concerts going on, maybe one or two special events annually, but no real formal series. As I recall, in those early days, there were some committees on campus. One that I was involved with dealt with bringing emerging artists that were doing experimental things in the performing arts as well as the visual arts. And I know there were some very exciting productions and performances and events that took place. And I think that was one of the groups that spurred the interest in having something more formalized. In my mind, the need for such a series was growing amongst campuses, especially in our state system, and Kutztown, wanting to be a leader in this, wanted to embrace this early on, and took the initiative to see that a series of world-class performances could be brought to this university at a very affordable price. Dr. Larry Stratton, who was president of Kutztown University at that time, had a keen interest in both music and the performing arts. It may not be well known, but he was actually a musician in the University of Michigan marching band under the revered William Ravelli. And he never forgot his college experiences and what that meant to him. And he wanted to see a similar type of energy on this campus through the performing arts. Another individual who was really supportive of this new initiative was Dean Evan Kern, who was the Dean of the College of Visual and Performing Arts at that time. In fact, I believe he and his wife Lucy were one of the first subscribers and financial supporters of this new series. They were so excited to see this come to Kutztown University.
Well, 30 years ago, my husband, he was the Dean of College and Performing Arts here at State College, suggested that the college underfund a special program in the arts. The arts to him were very, very important. Of course, as the Dean of the College of Visual Performing Arts, he dealt with art, music, dance, and he felt it was a good way to educate people about the arts as well, not only to give them performances in the arts, to have them learn more about the arts. So at that time too, the proposal was that if they would have these performers come, they would also meet with students in their specific areas, share their talents and their skills, and help the kids learn, as well as the audience have a great, wonderful aesthetic experience.
As chair of the department in 1988, I was involved in the search committee that identified Ellen Finks as our top candidate for this position.
When I saw the ad, actually I read it it was in the Chronicle for Higher Education. It was, I guess, a national search. The ad was for half-time performing arts administrator, half-time music faculty. It had my name on it. I had been a musician all my life until 3 years at Haverford College as an arts administrator, and then a summer at Music at Gretna as an arts administrator.
The things that we felt were so important were the fact that she was a performing musician, so she had good musical sense. She had an excellent track record of having produced performances of this nature at other institutions, and she had a desire to program inclusively in terms of artistic events, performance events, dance events.
Part of the uniqueness of Ellen's position was that prior to her involvement, everyone was either a faculty or a manager. And so Ellen came in and she was a hybrid. She was faculty for half-time and half-time for the Performing Artist Series. So unfortunately, she had two bosses. She had the academic side of the house that she had to deal with, and then she had the Performing Artist Series that we basically put into the foundation at that point. So we ran all the income and expenses through the foundation, so we knew we could cover the cost of the performances. And it made contracting a lot simpler also by doing it through the foundation. And so Ellen had to satisfy both sides of the house. And she did a very good job. She brought in talented folks that both the faculty would enjoy and appreciate, but at the same time that the public would also enjoy and appreciate. And so it was she had a difficult task, but she did a good job and really brought the Performing Artist Series to its notoriety.
During my first semester at KU, Dr. Stratton passed away. Robert Whitman became the interim president, and he was very helpful in establishing a budget for our series, because when the series began, we had nothing. There was no staff, there was no budget, there was no infrastructure, there was nothing. I was fortunate that my first year at KU coincided with, I believe, the first year of the organization Pennsylvania Presenters. And in Pennsylvania Presenters, which is a fabulous organization, I found wonderful colleagues and mentors who were very willing to help those of us out who were not familiar with different genres. There was a woman with the Pittsburgh Dance Council named Carol Linda Dickey, who sort of took me and others under her wing and helped us with dance tours and wrote grants so that we could afford world-class dance companies early on. One of the first things I did was contact the arts writers from the Reading Eagle and the Allentown Morning Call. And I met them, I had lunch with them, and they were always very helpful throughout. I also was able to borrow mailing lists from other cultural organizations. And we started out slowly. We certainly didn't sell out the first show, but we had decent houses for the first show. We had 3 performances, music, theater, and dance, and that's how it started.
The initial audiences were strong. We were able to cover our cost of production. And once we had some good events, it's word of mouth. You know, it was a worthwhile event. We enjoyed it. It was good talent. Again, if you get the right people to come, they attract other people in terms of the audience. So we made sure community leaders, civic leaders, and others were here so that they could spread word of mouth.
And the word spread. We got good press, we got good reviews.
In fact, I do recall that Reading Eagle newspaper reviewer Susan Pena often commented on the success of the dance events here at KU, that we seem to be able to produce them better than any other in the area.
As far as dance is concerned, I have to give a lot of credit again to my mentor, Carol Linda Dickey from the Pittsburgh Dance Council. I was a student or a protege of hers in some way, and I got to go to Jacob's Pillow for a weekend, which with Carol Linda and Ellis Finger from Lafayette College. They were the mentors, and then 3 of us presenters were the ones they invited to attend to learn about dance. And that's where I saw the Mark Morris Dance Company for the first time. And they were amazing, and I ended up actually getting the Mark Morris Dance Company to come. That was something that was really very special for me.
The neat part of it was that Ellen would work with a lot of the promoters, and someone was doing a college tour, and you know, they would time it so that they went from school X in Ohio to Kutztown and on their way to New York. You know, so it was a way to really bring in good talent at an affordable price and give people a good opportunity to enjoy a first-class production.
Our first sellout happened in our second season. It was the Palabolas Dance Company, and again, I'll give credit to my mentor, Carol Linda Dickey, who organized a statewide tour, which was anchored by 3 large presenters who could pay a lot of money for Palabolas, and then she asked those smaller presenters, how much could we afford? And that's what we paid, and it was fabulous.
Obviously, the community valued the performances because of their attendance and because of their willingness to underwrite it in terms of season support and other similar activities.
Well, I had always known that subscriptions were very important, having been a performer and having worked in other venues, and the previous arts administration positions that I had, we had subscriptions. It was just very important to get people sold in the idea of the whole season.
Well, I am a long-time subscriber from the very beginning, and actually it was my husband who suggested the series begin. So that's why, too, that I've been here since day one. So the idea of having the arts just be part of your life was very important.
At the time that this program started, patrons would have to drive either into downtown Reading or into downtown Allentown to see similar types of performances. So Kutztown, Pennsylvania ideally situated halfway between these two cities, became a great place not only for our local community, but for patrons in both the Allentown and Reading area to come and see performances that were not being offered in either Allentown or Reading.
When Dr. McFarland came, he was very interested in marketing the university. And as we looked at the marketing and the promoting of the university, we discovered that most people went around Kutztown. So we wanted to give them a reason to come into Kutztown. With that in mind, the Performing Artists Series was developed, and then the foundation also developed the Decision Makers Forum around the same time. And the thought was, use these as a magnet, or as a reason to come to Kutztown.
I had always thought it was important to get children to go to live performances, as I did when I was a child. I thought it was important for them to get used to having a ticket to an event, to have a program to an event, and to see an excellent live performance. We got great reaction from the children's series. It was instantaneous. Apparently, we filled a void. We started out with a 2 p.m. Sunday matinee, and oftentimes we would sell that out and have to add a 4 o'clock matinee as well. A few years later, in the late 90s, the Morning Call did an article about area children's series, and our children's series got top billing. I felt it was very important to do community outreach with the artists that we brought in to our series. And starting in 1992, when the entire Kutztown Junior High School walked to see a matinee performance of the American Indian Dance Theater, I started reaching out to local schools, and we would schedule our artists to perform at local schools. We would also sometimes have performances, matinees at the university.
Often there were students from the nearby schools who attended, and I thought that was great, because here we are, either state college or university, sharing this rich kind of experiences for kids, inspiring them.
The exciting thing about having this new program is, for one thing, it provided an opportunity for those students who are truly interested in getting closer to these world-class artists, the opportunity to do that. Many of these artists were willing to give of their time in workshops or master classes, which was a perfect format for our educational institution.
From the beginning, the mission of the series was to bring the world to Kutztown University. It's important for a university to have live performances, to have world-class performances, and it was a vibrant community. It was a very supportive community.
KU Presents started with a dream, and we've just learned how that vision became a reality. Tune in next time as things get shaken up for KU Presents. There are a few leadership changes and some major hurdles the program will face. Thanks for joining us. I'm Brian Zelmer, and we've been celebrating 30 years of KU Presents.
Well, it's a one for the money, two for the show.
Broadway's $1 Million Quartet is the international smash hit musical inspired by the true story of the jam session that brought Johnny Cash, Carl Perkins, Jerry Lee Lewis, and Elvis Presley together for the first and only time. It's the music you'll remember and the story you'll never forget.
You ain't ever caught a rabbit, you ain't no friend of mine.
Welcome to the 30th anniversary season of KU Presents. Kicking off the season on September 18th is $1 Million Quartet. The Celebrate Marimba Festival returns on October 4th through 6th and features presentations and performances beginning with South American supergroup Rio Mira, who specialize in crafting contemporary music using traditional sounds that are rooted in marimba. Then get ready to rock with the music of Billy Joel, on October 25th with Mike Del Judas and Big Shot.
You don't have to talk all night. I'm a man who can't say no. You don't have to twist my arm. Point me where you want to go.
This band consists of longtime, current members of Billy Joel's band and can be seen performing with him in arenas and stadiums around the world, including the monthly concerts at Madison Square Garden.
Easy money, easy money. I could get lucky. Oh, things could go right.
On November 9th, 4 principal musicians from the New York Philharmonic will perform works from classical string quartet repertoire under the name New York Philharmonic String Quartet.
Swinging little party with all of our friends. We're hoping you dig the invitation, make a plan to attend. We're gonna be singing jingle bells until the holidays end. A swinging little Christmas time. We're gonna be wrapping up your present.
Ring in the holidays with a heartfelt and fun performance on December 5th with Jane Lynch, A Swingin' Little Christmas. This show features both poignant and hilarious takes on classic holiday tunes, as well as nostalgia-inspired originals. Jane Lynch is best known for her role of Sue Sylvester on Glee, and she's joined by Kate Flannery, known for her 9 seasons as Meredith on The Office, and Glee's vocal arranger, Tim Davis.
The joint will be rocking with the rhythm of some holiday tunes. But baby, it wouldn't be a party if we didn't have you. A swing a little Christmas time.
Just in time for Valentine's Day is A.R. Gurney's famous Broadway play, Love Letters, on February 13th. This production is reinvigorated as 2 iconic television stars, I Dream of Jeannie's Barbara Eden and Barney Miller's Hal Linden, pull the heartstrings of spellbound audiences across America.
You know, do you know a play called Love Letters?
Mm-hmm. Oh,
I
with Larry.
love doing that.
You did it with Larry, didn't you?
I did it with Larry. I am doing it now with Hal Linden, and you asked me what I was doing. I'm going to do it next year with Hal. But that absolutely, for pure joy for me as an actress, is that part. I love it. What better to take from a little child to an old lady? I mean, what an arc. I love it, love it, love it.
Join us March 21st when guitar virtuoso Benesse features Fuego, the Latin river dance. Fuego features the passion and grace of flamenco dancing combined with fiery Spanish guitar. A beautifully charming and romantic Spanish village is the backdrop for Benesse and his stage full of musicians and dancers. Rounding our season out on April 16th is one of the most dynamic live performers of our time, Arturo Sandoval. The protege of the legendary jazz master Dizzy Gillespie, Arturo Sandoval is known for his virtuosic technical ability on the trumpet, but he also plays the piano and sings. Don't miss one of the most brilliant, multifaceted, and renowned musicians of our time, Arturo Sandoval. Tickets are now available by calling 610-683-4092 or by visiting kutztownpresents.org. Thank you to Berks Community Television and all of the KU Presents season sponsors. See you at Schaefer,